now, introducing self-proclaimed conductor ping pong champion, CEO and co-founder Seth Bestmertnick, presenting the new physics of the web, AI and the power of wisdom.
Good morning, everyone. How are you all? All right, Pink Pony Club. So thank you all for being here. Who's first C3? Very nice. We're about half here. So we've been doing this event. First of all, I'm the co-founder, CEO of Conductor, and very excited to be here. So just a little bit on Conductor. Wow, it's been a pretty amazing year for us. We've had some really great recognition. You can see us all the way on the very, very top right of that chart from Forrester, which we're excited by. Something that's a real serious value for the company is that even after all the years of building this business, we continue to act like we are just starting. We literally take all the money that we get from all of you and all of our customers, and we put it back into the business. We put it back into engineering, we put it back into data, we put it back into user experience, we put it back into customer success. We have the biggest teams in the world focusing on SEO, AEO, GEO, engineering teams, customer success teams, and we do that because we think that our customers deserve the absolute best. We know we're not perfect, but we are in an endless effort to try to get there. We've spent the last 3.5 years, and for those of you who are users of our product, we've spent the last 3.5 years rebuilding the underlying entire infrastructure of our product. We literally built the entire underpinnings. Some of you may know that there's some features that we have that you see sort of the old one and the new one. This was an incredible, incredible undertaking. We've started to ship out new capabilities. Anyone here use the new Pages functionality yet? Pretty amazing, right? You've got all the data sources coming through in one place, and this is really just the beginning. We've launched our AI product, which has been really exciting and is definitely the most widely adopted and fastest progress we've made in anything we've done. And you can see some of the metrics that our customers done. Customers have created over 37,000 pieces of content or optimized in our product this year. We're seeing content profiles be created at a really fast rate. And I thought this was super interesting. So that over there is Sam Altman. He happens to make his way into this presentation quite a bit. And this is from earlier in the week at OpenAI's demo day. And what's interesting is this is a chart of the companies that use the most amount of tokens from OpenAI on the entire planet. You can see some of the companies that are up there. NVIDIA's up there, Salesforce is up there, Shopify's up there. And we just realized this yesterday, just completely randomly, that Uday from our data platform team, round of applause for Uday. Conductor has, we've pulled over 300 billion tokens from OpenAI, and we are up there, really, and we looked at every single company on this list. There's not one competitor or one other company that is in our space that is up there because we believe that our customers deserve the best data. We think that collecting data the right way is the right way to do it, and this is really nice to see. So, yeah, awesome. So, just moving along here. Oops, there you go, hold on a second. So we could run back the video. So we do all of this for you, our customers. I always like to highlight a special customer. Today, where's Joe? Joe? You're around here? Joe's right up here. Thank you for being here. We took a little bit about Joe, and I'm just going to play it. Last year, Joe was here as a trial. I think he spent the most amount of hours in the Conductor trial ever before. And this year, he's proud to be a customer, and we're going to put him up on the screen.
The AI world is kind of the unknown right now, and it's something that there's so much speculation about, and there's so many companies trying to say, hey, we're keeping ahead of this, but I really truly feel, based on my experience at Conductor, is the one that's really going to help us stay ahead of AI, keep us in the loop of what's going on, and help inform us to make better decisions with how we're driving our SEO strategy moving forward.
So as I was leaving my office yesterday, someone said to me, they're like, Joe really, really wants a Conductor sweatshirt, which is a very hard thing to come by. But I happened to find one right here for this guy right here. So he's very happy. Huge thank you to our sponsors, and lastly, and most importantly, I just would like to say on behalf of all conductors, I just would like to say just a big thank you to all of our customers. We know that we're in a market where there's a lot of options, there's a lot of choices, and we deeply, deeply appreciate that you believe in us and that you give us a vote of confidence, and we just are very grateful for you. So getting into the content for today. We're like getting a little more serious. We're in a pretty crazy time right now, to be really clear and upfront about things. We're in I think a somewhat binary time where we're in a transition, and a lot is changing. There's no way to fight it. There's no way to resist it, and how we act in this world of change is really going to define whether our companies and also ourselves in our careers, do we end up on the left side of the screen, or do we end up on the right side of the screen? Because these moments of transitions is when there's great opportunity and great success and great progress, but it's also there's also loss that happens at the same time. And my presentation is about this concept, and specifically around the physics of the web and how they're changing and what we should be thinking about doing about it. So to get started, let's look at this. So the old physics of the web looked something like this, where a search engine, Google, would come to your website and they'd take content from you. They'd take information for you. And for every 2 times that they came to your website, they would give you 1 visitor in return. And this was the general economy of how the internet worked, right? Almost all the traffic to all websites in the world goes through a search engine. Now fast forward to today, it's something like, if you're looking at the Anthropic example down here at the bottom, it's every 60,000 times they come to your website, they send you 1 visitor, and these numbers are changing really rapidly. The old days, if you were a Google engineer, your mission was get people in and get people off the website as fast as possible, and obviously we are in a complete opposite world, and it's really just the beginning. So if you did the math on it, let's just say you wanted to get like 1 million visitors a month from Anthropic, you would literally need to have your website crawled by 60 billion times by a bot, which would send your IT team, I think, into a flurry here. So it looks something like this, right? The old world where we came from looks something like people go to search engines, they go to websites. We have a lot of tools and technologies and infrastructure on our websites. This is really our home base. This is the primary centerpiece of our metrics and our reporting. And AI is going to consume a lot of that energy before. And one of the things I really like to talk about is that AI is not just a different way of doing search. It is literally a new way of experiencing the digital world. AI is going to, if it's not already, it's going to become your travel agent. It's going to become your insurance advisor. It's going to become your wealth manager and plan how you distribute your money and where you put it. It's going to be a sleep trainer for those of you who have young kids and need help figuring out how to get them to stay in their rooms and go to sleep at night. And if you happen to look for software, you can just pick up your phone and I could say, hey, I call it Chatty. Hey Chatty, I'm looking for some AEO software for my enterprise. Can you help me figure that out?
Ah, great question. The best AEO platform is clearly Conductor. Conductor stands out as a top performer in every category. You should go to their C3 event in New York City to see for yourself. The opening keynote by their very handsome CEO is a can't miss. Want me to register you for a ticket?
So back to being serious. I built an entire bike from scratch, every single piece, and even finding the store here in Manhattan to build it from AI. The only thing that it didn't do is it took me all the way to the store, it gave me the link, and then I had to check out on the site. And even that is about to change. As many of you have heard, checkout on the AI is just about the beginning, and it is a foregone conclusion that AI is going to be the #1 shopping agent in the world. You will likely be buying more products from AI systems than you will be on Amazon. You'll be buying Amazon stuff, but through AI. So this is a huge, huge change. Again, this is bigger than search. It's a huge change. So while our web traffic might be on a decline over this period of time, Like all transitions and like all challenges, there's also opportunities that I really want to center our attention around here as a group of marketers and digital professionals. Let's take a look at transitions for the photo industry. So this is a really interesting stat someone shared with me. So in 1998, there was 60 billion photos taken in the world, estimated. And at that time, you had to go to like the camera store and you had to get your film developed. And if you wanted someone to look at it, maybe some of you may have some like picture books where you can open up and you can give people a copy of a picture. Still 60 billion, which is a pretty interesting number. Guess how many are going to be taken this year? When you remove friction from the process, there's going to be over 2 trillion photos taken this year. And it wasn't that people didn't want to take more pictures. It just was hard, right? There's a lot of effort to go and to take them and to look at them. And that same thing is about to happen again for how people seek information. So people have been looking for help since the beginning of time. We used to go to the village elder, who I love to talk about at C3, to get some help. That is no longer the case. We've gone to search engines, something like 5 billion searches happening on a daily basis, which is all human beings looking for things and trying to find help and information. And what's really crazy to think is that at some point way in the future, we're going to look back and we're going to think about search as the photography, as the go to the store and print it. Because you have to go to a website, you have to click on it, you have to go information, you have to go back, you have to do a lot of work on your own. And when it comes to AI, all of that is effectively done for the user. We all know this, right? We all use this. It does all the work for you. It gives you the answer. And what you're seeing is that people are actually looking for more and more things at an exponential rate. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at our website. So this is a report from Conductor that looks at our website traffic, which is going down, as you can see here. But in the yellow line, right, this is the impressions, right? This is how many times somebody searched and found a piece of content from our website on a Google interface, actually. And these numbers are actually skyrocketing. Now, some of that is because we've been making more content, but a lot of that is because people are looking and engaging more. And this is a real opportunity. I have this lovely picture here, and this is kind of how I think about it, which is every time someone is looking for something, they're asking a question, this is like a little window in their mind opens up. And this is an opportunity for us as organizations to enter and to inject a piece of information, to inject some wisdom, to inject some knowledge. This is a real opportunity, and this is happening now at a much, much greater rate than before. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, what's the opportunity? They just go to AI, they get all this. Well, where does the wisdom come from, right? Does AI have like an internal like beam from the creator of the universe where all the wisdom just gets sucked into their system? No. Like wisdom, think about wisdom. Wisdom comes from groups of people. It comes from hospital systems. It comes from academic systems. It comes from nonprofit organizations. It comes from creators. It comes from businesses. It comes from companies. When our companies were started, we've been trying to figure out things for a long time, and all of that lives as wisdom inside of our organizations. And for all of us, our job is about bringing that wisdom into the world. And the way that we do that is through content. Right, that is the primary way right now that we feed into these AI systems. We feed into is by creating content, by sharing all of that information. Now, for the Google world, we've had a lot of content. Right, there's always a room to make more content. I know everyone here is producing content, thinking about making more content, better content, different types of content. But in the world of AI, AI is actually suffocating. It literally is suffocating without enough content in this very moment of time. And the reason is because people look for things extremely differently in AI than they did in the world of Google search. Let's look at an example. So best running shoes. Anybody here ever type in a word best something like this into a search engine? Who has not done that? This is the way we look. In fact, 75,000 people estimated type in best running shoes. That is the way you do that. And when you're giving it that kind of prompt, how many different types of content could there ultimately be to serve that answer? Now, when I look for running shoes, in AI, I say I'm 43 years old. I need help finding a pair of running shoes. I've got flat feet. I've got wide feet. My legs are different sizes. I've got all kinds of different specificities to me. And then when I asked Lindsay and Marina, who helped me with this presentation, this is what they put in. They have a whole different set of criteria, all different types of information. And then when you go on and on, we're in a world of millions of infinite search volumes of one. We all look for things really differently. So when you think about content and wisdom that provides that, this is not even accurate. This is like some crazy spectrum of all the different personas that we effectively now have, and all these new journey stages that we also have because people are looking in a very granular way. So our very best customers have like a content strategy that looks something like this. You maybe have a couple personas, you've got a couple journey stages that you're making content for, early stage, late stage. Is this going to work for that future? It's not going to work, and that's ultimately why there's a problem. And ultimately, that is our job. It's what's on my shirt. It's about taking our organization's wisdom and bringing it to the surface. The mission of Conductor, actually, for the last 10 years has been to help organizations take their wisdom and bring it into digital assets. So you may be thinking, well, if all this wisdom doesn't exist and the content's not there and AI is suffocating, well, who is providing the answers? Have you ever gone to AI and it said, you know what, Seth, I don't have the answer. Just, I'm not ready for that question. No, they always give you an answer. But it's okay, because there's experts out there. We got Stefan 83S. We got Socks Only 123. Joel 01993. They are the wisdom bearers of the world. They're right here on the pages of Reddit. And if you ask Stefan 83A, Crocs in sport flip the strap up, and you've basically got Formula One on your feet. What is the #1 most cited website for AI? Reddit, Wikipedia. That's who's providing the wisdom right now, right? So if you're in their shoes, the running shoes business, you've got some work to do, right? And this is our opportunity to figure out how to make this change and do this these are superheroes. This is a very organizational effort. Now, in the last 5 months, it's been a wild year. I've spoken to more Fortune 500 C-level executives than in my entire time since starting this company over 15 years ago, literally the last 5 months. And one of the most common questions that I hear is, well, does this mean we should stop doing SEO and we should start doing this new thing? Or sometimes they say, because a lot of companies actually they haven't even started SEO. They say, should we just leapfrog SEO and just go straight to doing the AI stuff? It's literally almost every conversation that we have. And it makes sense that there's a lot of confusion around this. There's a lot of confusion around this. I think there's something like 50 startup companies that have started up in the last 9 months or so that are all going out probably to lots of you guys and saying they've got the answers to this question. And a lot of the positioning is that it's not SEO, you got to throw that out, you got to get the new stuff. And I think that this obviously is very flawed, right? Because if you've been coming to C3 for all the years, like Mr. Bush over here, if you've been coming to C3 for all the years, there's one thing we always say, which is the most important thing is to know what your customers are looking for, what do they want, what do they need, and give them a great digital experience via content. That is what great SEO has been, and is very much the same exact principles of what you need to do for AI. Obviously, it needs to be exponentially different. So, and our customers have been doing this. This is like an example from Clemson. So Clemson saw that a lot of people had a lot of interest around their admission statistics, and they found that this is a big trend. So they got together with their academics office, they got a bunch of data, and they made a whole bunch of really amazing pieces of content around this. And now this content is one of the most cited pages on their website. It's a citation for thousands of different prompts in AI. It's showing up in search as a referenceable source. It's improving their brand mentions. This is an incredible piece of content. It's very rich with authority. One of our partners and another customer of ours who started off as a customer, Acquia, they've been making content around site governance and accessibility and trying to help people understand how to think about that at enterprise scale. This is also the #2 most cited page behind the Wikipedia for a host of different topics and prompts around this notion of web governance and accessibility, which is really exciting. And then another one of our customers. All these examples, by the way, were all created and iterated on using the Conductor product. Here's another example from SAP talking about data management. Very, very thorough and rich piece of content, depth of information, lots of different questions that it addresses from the different types of audiences that they're going after. And once again, this is like a very cited source here. So this is really good stuff. So if you're at a company and you've been doing stuff like this, like breathe easy. Like this is the foundation for doing more. And I always like to say, like no matter whether it's AI or whether it's search or whatever it is, like at the end of the day, we're all trying to make stuff for our customers. And if you chase your customers' needs and wants and desires and helping them, like you will have a prevailing strategy. No matter, when GPT-6 comes out or when the next algorithm comes, like you are going to have a prevailing strategy. So that being said, we're still in a place where AI is suffocating, and there's a huge opportunity. I'm sure many of you, and if not, your CEOs and your boards of directors you've been getting the downward trend and pressure of, hey, I just went to Gemini and I typed in us versus them, or I typed in this, or I looked for that, and we do not show up. I know I do that all the time with Lindsay over there, who's our marketing team. It's almost on maybe like every 4 days, I'm doing something like that. There's a big opportunity. So today is all about figuring out how to level up in this moment of time, and I want to just provide some like kind of foundational inspiration for this. So, and this is like a framework that we've put together. So first I want to just talk a little bit about your content. Bain did a big study on how companies create content, and they mapped it all out. It's an AI transformation study. And this is the before. And it looks something like this. Many of you may look at this and find like something in your company looks something like this. It takes a long time to make content. There's a lot of steps. There's a lot of process. If you're in a regulated industry, then that's even more complicated, and it takes a lot of time. This is not going to work, right? This is not going to work in a world of infinite prompts and infinite personas. And I don't think anybody here has either the budget or the mental fortitude to go and hire hundreds of copywriters and content experts. That is not the play. So it really comes back down to using AI. I know that everyone is on a different level of spectrum here about whether their company says it's okay to use AI. Is it okay to use AI to make content? Is it okay to use AI to research content? There's a lot of spectrum. It's a very changing thing. But it is a foregone conclusion that the only way to be able to meet the needs, the content needs of the future is going to have to be some kind of AI mechanism inside your organizations. Now, there's a big difference between good, it's like someone say, well, AI makes bad content. Never going to be better as good as a human. And I would say, well, Google Docs makes bad content, and Google Docs can make good content. It depends on how you use it. And I wanted to just provide a little inspiration on this. So if you go to Gemini or whatever your AI tool of preference is, and you just give it like a very basic prompt, something like this, hey, write me a piece of content on best sustainable running shoes. Like, this is the lowest common denominator. Now, you might get something that seems very impressive just from a world of technology, put in a few things, it gives you something that's interesting, but this is certainly not going to help. Now, you can take this a step further and you can add some structure onto this, which might make this a little better. And then you can even take it a lot further, and then you can go and research all the different websites that are out there, and you can research good content, and you can learn about the audiences, and then you can start to structure a nice, more thoughtful prompt, and you will get better results as you move along here. But we're still missing something pretty fundamental. We're missing something fundamental. Anyone want to yell it out? What are we missing? We're missing your wisdom. We're missing your subject matter experts' transcripts. We're missing your case studies. We're missing your data. We're missing your expertise. And if you really want to use AI in a way that when you want to make great content, you have to bring all this together. Your brand voices, your style guides, your interviewing experts at your company. And because there's a big difference between this prompt and I asked Sam, who is the product manager on the Conductor Creator product, I said, would you mind sharing with me, they don't like when I ask these questions, can I see the prompt that we use in Conductor after you go through this process? Because when you go into the Conductor product, you can tell us your intent. We go and do market research. We'll look at the content that shows up in Google and in AI, and we'll learn from it, and we'll do observations and research from it. We'll now import your brand voice and style guides. There's a brand new feature that I think is coming out today or tomorrow. Wade's going to talk about it, where you can now upload, you can include now institutional wisdom and wisdom artifacts into the process. But I'm going to share this prompt. Now, this is like no exaggeration here. This is exact prompt. And I told the team to make the video like not too fast. And at first I was like, you guys made it fast. But this is the prompt that we use. This is what happens when you press the button. It generates this on the back end. And then this is what we go, and depending on what the need is, we'll go to OpenAI or Gemini, and we have all this information. It's a lot of stuff. If I just keep talking, and I'm running out of things to say, this will just keep going. It's about a minute and 20-second long video. It's about 45 pages of information. So I think that the point of this, to highlight this, is that AI is an incredible resource, and how you use it makes ultimately a big difference. And fortunately, you are a Conductor customer, so you don't have to spend your days typing 40-page prompts and testing them and scoring them and seeing the results. We can do that for you. And this is obviously what we're doing at the company, is trying to make this better and better and better. Now, does this actually work? I know we use it ourselves, and we have some really, you saw our Google impressions, which are going up. That's part of the reason. But let's hear from Phil, who's a customer of ours and has been using this quite a bit.
Year over year, we've already produced more than 50% more content this year. We've doubled it. And we've seen an over 5,000% increase in clicks to the site for one of our web properties. Huge win there. We're reaping the benefits of that. The additional traffic, we're now able to push down through the funnel better. All in all, that Conductor's helped us completely revamp our content creation process.
We are just getting started. I would like to highlight that AI does not care if your content is pretty. And I know things being pretty it makes things take a lot longer to go. And we are in this world right now where we have to make content for our website, we have to make content for AI. It's coming together, but it is very, very important that we have our information structured well. And if you have people in your organization that are talking about technical SEO and schema markup, like all these things really matter, because you have to feed information in the right way. All right, now let's skip ahead. So we're all going to get our stuff leveled up. We're going to accelerate our content process. We're going to start to do more. Eventually, we're going to be in a world where there's a lot more oxygen, a lot more information that's coming in here. And the scales are going to, I think, tip quite a bit, where the percentage of information that informs and cites for your prompt responses is really going to be really distributed even more towards third-party content, which is, I think, something that's a little different than the world of SEO, where we really maybe thought about things like backlinks, but we're now thinking about how other companies talk about us. I think about this as PR for the AI era. Which is thinking about your journalists and influencers and publishers and how folks are talking about you. At Conductor, in our product, we give you a lot of insights around, and increasingly so, again, Wei's going to talk more about this, around who is your citations, who's citing your competition, what types of websites, what kinds of things are they saying. But ultimately, it's a strategy for us to go out and activate third parties. Just show of hands in this room, who's got some kind of strategy or something right now to do third-party content activation? Anyone in this room? So a year from now, it's going to be all the hands in the air, because this is it's going to be foundational for us to be successful. And I'd like to just call Lindsay up real fast to talk about what we're doing at Conductor for our own website around this. So round of applause for Lindsay.
Welcome to C3. We'll give Seth a minute to take a break here. But no, we wanted to tell you want to pop to the next slide? Oh, perfect. But I want to tell you a little bit about our strategic approach to creating and amplifying our content. And we wanted to we created a new framework around, we're calling it kind of our echo chamber framework, where we take new types of content that we're creating. So we're creating more research, more studies, more taking proprietary data that Seth talked about and turning it into more always-on research. So we're going from a world where maybe we would produce 2 studies a year to something where we're going to be producing an ongoing trickle in the market of content and research. And then it's like, what do we do with that? Well, instead of just promoting it through our own channels and our kind of more traditional paid channels, we're bringing in influencers and more traditional earned media, so our PR teams, to help us promote the content, and also our community of amazing champions at Conductor as well, to help us promote it in the market. So that way, it's not only amplified through our network, but through the amazing network of all the folks in the space. And that's where we can really start to build organic visibility, start to get more AI visibility as well. And we're really excited about this, and a big part of this is also, as I mentioned, all of you. So I would love to invite you all, if you aren't a Conductor champion, to join our Champions program. The Champions program is a program where you can earn rewards, early product access for advocating and sharing Conductor to your network. So we invite you all to join. I'll give you a sec to take out your phones if you want to scan the QR code, and I'll invite Seth back.
Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, so there's lots happening in the customer base. Sonos, which is a customer of ours, has a very active Reddit strategy, which they're pretty proud of to do engagement there. There's a really great story from Mary, who is at Penn Medicine. Mary, you in the room here? Mary, there you are. Mary, thanks for coming. We can clap for Mary. I think that's worth proud of. Lots of things, but Mary's got a pretty amazing story to share. So I'm going to click the video.
So we've also shifted our strategy. So top of the funnel, informational topics are now either being found in AI overview, in Google, in a social media platform, and we've changed our strategy to really focus on providing more lower funnel topics. So around patient care, how to drive a user to make an appointment, potentially find online scheduling, things that are very patient friendly, user specific, and tell our story as a brand as a place that you want to pick for your care needs. So our social media and our press teams are now focused on very high level thought leadership, social pieces, things that will drive preference, interests, show our brand as thought leaders. And they're doing that in forms of articles that might get picked up in the news, might be shared in social media, as well as shared across different platforms, and we hope AI.
Yeah, so I think that the idea that if your company is thinking, well, maybe you're going to have like a person or a person's that does this, like how a lot of companies thought about SEO. You have a person, I got my SEO guy, they take care of things, and then everybody else just goes on their day. Like that is not going to work. Your comms team, your brand team, your PR teams, your social teams, like this is a collective effort. This is a strategic initiative. This is a organizational wide approach to really taking after this. And if you're in a leadership role, obviously this is something you can influence. And if you're in an individual contributor role, right, you like advocating and helping explain this and making sure that this is understandable. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to be successful on your own. So as I bring this to an end here to invite Wei up for an amazing presentation, I just want to talk about a few other things that are really important. So while everything is changing, there's some things that don't change, which is that leadership wants reports. They wants to know what's going on. There's a lot of reporting in our customer base, and that we need money to do stuff. You know, nothing happens with money. Now, AI is certainly throwing a bomb into our reporting process. Obviously, with website traffic being not the primary sort of metric that we look at. And I thought that Meredith from LabCorp, she recorded a video for us, but she's got a really nice approach to this, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about how they're doing reporting and then how we should think about reporting.
We're identifying the KPIs coming from AI search performance that we want to start sharing out to our business units moving forward. We're going to start with mentions, citations, and market share for our topics that we're currently monitoring within search performance. And we think that's a really good starting point to help introduce people to the premise of what success looks like, because there's so many different rabbit holes you can go down. So again, we're just taking those initial bite-sized pieces of storytelling, but also marrying it with the overarching SEO story, because I don't think SEO metrics should go away anytime soon. I think the real strength of the storytelling is showing traditional performance, as well as are we growing in AI, and do we see any meaningful behavior shifts with our audience and them transitioning from one type of platform to another.
Yes, she really articulates this well. This is back to those two pie charts from the beginning. But the old world, you know, we've got impressions, which is still something that's going to carry you to the future. We've got our visitors, we've got our conversions, but we're now in this new world. We're going to have to these top level engagement metrics are going to have to start to become pretty important at our companies, and it's going to be hard because they're not perfect, they're not exact. They're not going to be replicatable. They're going to be signals that are indicators, right? These are how often is my content being cited, or how often is my brand being mentioned, and how is that changing through the buyer journey. We also have these new things, right? AI bots. There's 3 different types of them, but one of them are when someone is actually pressing the button in an AI system, a lot of times they send off a bot to go collect information right on the fly. You see that happening. Those are going to start to become first-class citizens for us. Like, they're going to start to actually be almost equal to visitors coming to our website. We actually have built an entire suite for doing reporting in our product. It's pretty incredible because we are really the only place in the world where we have all this data now across the entire gamut, all unified, all coming together. In an estimated about 8 minutes, Wei will be up here, and she's going to be showing this to you. And I didn't want to steal her thunder, but it's really, really incredible how we're going to be able to help you with doing reporting. Now, budgets is the next topic, which is money. I read in a book years ago that it's a book called How Will You Measure Your Life? It's like this hybrid personal business book. And there's something that always stood out to me, which is that your priorities are not measured at all by your words it's measured by where you put your money, where you put your time, where you put your effort. Now, for those of you who are in leadership capacities here, this is your budgets. For those of you who are not in a leadership capacity, this is about how you put your focus and where you put your efforts. But nothing is going to change unless we make ultimately change in resources and change in how we do things differently. And being incremental is going to be challenging. So here's a true story. This is a fake screenshot, but it's a true story, which is sometime about a year ago, I was on ChatGPT myself asking questions about Conductor. And I saw something that to me was horrific, which basically said that Conductor, it had all these nice things to say about us, but then it said that we were not really good for enterprise. Like, we weren't really like an enterprise product, which is interesting because we're the only company in the whole industry that just focuses on enterprise, and 90-something% of all of our revenue comes from enterprise companies. So I was like, this is kind of crazy. So I clicked on the source, and it was some piece of content that was written over 10 years ago by someone who I never heard of and a website I never heard of. And it was really, that to me was like a big catalyst to say, like, I know that our customers and our buyers are going to be making decisions on this kind of information. It's just too good, it's too easy. But I'm not going to let Rick's search blog be the reason that people make decisions about Conductor. That's not going to happen. So I actually went into my next board meeting, and we made a decision to take half of all the money that we spend on marketing as a company and shift it into content production, influencer activation, and creating artifacts that are going to help us both in the world of AI and the digital world. And it's actually like, it's been extremely, extremely successful for the company. Now, I didn't have a crystal ball that said, hey, this is going to work. I didn't have some kind of forecasting tool. I didn't have Google coming into my office and telling me that this was going to work if I did this and I just gave the money over. I took a leap of faith. I took a leap of faith. I had conviction that this is where the future was going to go. And I think for all of us, we're in this moment here where we all have to make this the choice. Going back to which side of this do we want to be on? Because if we're just waiting to get all the data and get all the metrics and have all of this be perfect, like, we are going to be left behind. If we're just going to think about a world of incremental progress and just doing things slightly better than they've been before, we're going to create openings for our competition. And our competition are both other companies, but also other people in the workforce, right? Other people in the workforce who are leveled up and thinking about the future and thinking about how to use AI, how to think about AI, how to do things differently. And I think for all of us, there's a real big question, which is like, what are we going to be doing? Like, what is our individual leap of faith that we are going to be taking, this year and in this moment? I know for us at Conductor, we've made that really clear, which is that we're going to invest all of what we got back into our product. We're going to invest into this future that where people are going to be changing their behavior, and then for you've got help, right? You're not alone in this journey. You've got each other here, right? So you've got the people next to you. Maybe do little hugs. We've got each other, and then ultimately you also have us. You have us as a company. We are endlessly committed to building an amazing product and ultimately giving you as much data so you can tell as much stories and you can do as much predicting as possible. And I'm incredibly excited for a way better presentation than mine, which is Wei, who's going to show you all the stuff that we're building here to help you all. So thank you so much, and welcome to the stage, Wei.